and he's co-host of Freedom Friday. And Brandon, I know you got all kind of stuff to bring to the table, and you might want to go off on that Sanctuary City thing, but I also want you to go off on this thing about another conspiracy theory. I mean, you talked about this years ago about people being able to hack in to our vehicles with all of this computerization stuff and cell phones and GPS, and people laughed at us. And now, what's the headlines? Chrysler's recalling over 1 million vehicles. Why? They can be hacked into and controlled by an outside force.
Yeah. Well, let's take a little trip back in time to June the 18th of 2013. That was the day one Michael Hastings, in my opinion, was murdered. Michael Hastings, journalist, Rolling Stone writer, he wound up putting a rough end to the career of General David Petraeus. He was embedded with different groups in Iraq and wrote about the war and different things. Interestingly enough, one of the last articles he wrote on military personnel was on one Bo Bergdahl. Mm-hmm. You remember that name?
Oh, I remember that Hastings, you and I know some people that Hastings called just before his death and said, they're out to get me, they're going to kill me, and within just an hour or so, he was dead.
Yeah, so 6/18/13, June 18th, 2013, Michael Hastings, again, in my opinion, was absolutely assassinated, probably for information that he had and articles and stories that he was working on. And many people, including myself, speculated at that time he was driving one of the latest models of Mercedes. I just went and looked it up. He was driving a Mercedes, one of the newest models. And it was already documented at that time that those cars could be hacked. They could be hacked into wirelessly and controlled. And
what happened? What happened to him?
We wound up, car running down the road 100 miles an hour, runs off the road, and just before it slams into a tree, it blew up.
Yeah.
And we have that on video, by the way, from traffic cam footage.
Yeah.
Blew up, and the engine winds up, I think, 100 or so yards down the road.
But it was an accident. It was
an accident. Vehicles can't be hacked. You're a tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorist until 2 years and 1 month later, Wired magazine now says, oh, yeah, you can hack vehicles. As a matter of fact, Chrysler is recalling 1.4 million vehicles that they now know can be hacked wirelessly. Along with, and don't be fooled that it's just Chrysler, because Wired magazine actually released a whole list of vehicles that they already know for sure 100% can be hacked into. So again, conspiracy theory proved to be conspiracy fact.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And once again, that conspiracy theory was brought forward right here on Freedom Friday. Other places as well. I'm not saying we were the first, but I'm saying that we brought it forward when it was considered not popular to do so. We were considered tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists. Everybody knows you can't hack into a car and remotely control it. We know that can't happen. We know that guy didn't die like that. Y'all are idiots. And now, 2 years and 1 month later, Chrysler is recalling 1 million vehicles. Why? They can be controlled remotely.
Yeah, no, it is a fact. It's it has been verified again. And listen, again, we knew this in 2013. People were already doing this, and we knew that the research was out there that these vehicles could be controlled remotely. As a matter of fact, here's one for people to go check out. The planes that flew into the World Trade Centers on 2001s were the first generation of jet airliners that could be controlled remotely. Mm-hmm. Not saying that that's what happened, but I'm telling you that it is a fact that is the first generation of jet airliners that can absolutely be controlled remotely and wireless.
Right, and I know some have posited the theory that perhaps that was involved in that. No, we're not saying that. We don't know. No, but we're just saying this technology's out there, folks. And if you don't believe it, go to the headlines today. Chrysler's recalling over 1 million vehicles because they can be remotely controlled. They can be hacked. And that's what Brandon and I were telling you years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. You know, the technologies that we have in our world, it's just, it's unbelievable. You and I were talking about this earlier today. It's just, Oh, man, the technologies are here for so many things that were talked about, prophesied, and predicted thousands of years ago in the Bible. And we are the first generation to see these technologies. And I'm not insinuating that wirelessly controlled vehicles are in the Bible, so don't confuse me. It just sparked my mind that the technology that surrounds us today, the technology is in place for everything that is recorded in the prophetic books of Daniel and Revelation to happen right now.
Well, let me give you some examples. The Daniel and Revelation speak of, and I'm just going to paraphrase, okay, but it speaks of kind of a one-world government controlled by a one-world kind of influential man. I don't know if he's going to be like a world ruler, but the kings of the earth will kind of pay him homage and bow down to him and follow his lead. And he's going to do that. The whole world will look to him. The whole world will see him at once and will want to worship him. There's going to be a marking system that the whole world will have to take. And on these technologies go that 2,000 years ago when they were spoken of in the Word of God that sounded like science fiction. But we're the only and first generation to see the convergence of all of these technologies. Tracking, GPS, satellite, internet, transportation, communication, information systems. We're the first generation to see it all happen. The Bible spoke about it 2,000 years ago. By the way, that was a conspiracy theory 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, and it was science fiction.
And it was science fiction. But now it's in our lifetime, and all of the technologies for the rise of the Antichrist and the very last days are already in place. They're here. They're here. There's not a single technology I can think of that needs to be invented for everything in the Scriptures to come to pass.
No, and isn't it amazing that the very thing that you were just talking about, one of the biggest clues that we have of the end times and of this Antichrist figure to come is the creation of this one world government and a head being placed over that. And isn't it interesting that the leader of the largest, quote, Christian religion in the world, the Pope, is openly calling for a one-world government.
Openly.
And I'm not even insinuating that I think that he is Antichrist, because I don't.
Yeah.
I think that he is setting the stage for a very soon coming Antichrist.
Right. Well, and the Scriptures speak of a false prophet who comes from a megalithic religious system, who's connected to the kings of the earth, whose colors are scarlet and purple, who sits on a city of 7 hills. The Scriptures say that. I mean, and now we've got the Pope from Rome, the city of 7 hills, whose official colors of the Roman Catholic Church are scarlet and purple, calling, literally using the word one world system, one world government system. Why? To save us from what? Man-made global warming.
Which we know is a farce.
Oh, it's a farce.
As you well documented in Final Warning, that what is actually happening with the sun and the moon and the stars is that they are dimming right now.
Global dimming, global cooling. And guess what the latest headlines in the last couple of weeks have been in major news sources, New York Times, etc., that for the next several decades, scientists expect the Earth to get cooler and cooler. Now, by variations of degrees, but global warming's not happening. They actually said that there's a dimming effect of the sun. Fewer sunspots, less light is reaching the Earth. UV ratings are going to go down. This is the headline news of secular news, and I had that in my book a year ago that was going to happen, and here we are.
You know, I actually saw one article that speculated the possibility that we could be in for another mini ice age.
Yeah.
So I guess that truly now we need to all go back to buying big diesel trucks.
Yes.
And smogging up the earth. And
absolutely.
Maybe we should just all have private jets and fly all around the world, because we know that'll heat the world up. Right?
We know that. We need to get more cows so that they can flatulate. Flatulate. Yeah. Pass gas. Yeah. And we need to crank up our factories, put more smoke in the air. Yeah. But professing to be wise, they have become fools, depraved minds.